Who can tell me what either one of these two things are? What the item is or who the person is? Besides my kids, but I love that. It's a Faraday cage. And that's Michael Faraday. You know what the Faraday cage is? What is it? Yes. It is a box devoid of signals, frequencies, okay? You put something inside of there, nothing as far as a ray, a frequency, any sort of wave is going to act upon that. No outside radio or frequency or force or ray is going to disturb that, okay? Michael Faraday created this because he wanted to study things in their static states. He wanted to see if a thing had a charge or any sort of energy to it. So he would put them in his Faraday cage and he would take measurements, okay? Students at prestigious universities, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't want to misquote. Believe it was Harvard and Stanford, but you guys can look that up. They did studies by putting human beings in Faraday cages, and they measured them in heightened emotional states: anger, bitter, loss, passion, grieving, elation, whatever. And what they discovered was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Human beings had a wave signature that was unique to their emotional state. Okay? Now, these were not the signatures, but I'm going to give you an idea. Anger looked a certain way. Happiness looked a certain way. Okay? Grievance looked a certain way. They could literally put a human being in this Faraday cage, measure their state on scientific equipment, and see that, okay, well, those three guys look this way. How are they feeling? What did they report? Oh, angry. They were all angry. So they learned that people's frequencies could be measured. One of the really incredible parts of that is something called the law of constructive interference, which means that when two frequencies combine, they exponentially grow in power. So what that means as it relates to selling is that you and your customer, if you're speaking to them and they're resonating with you and you guys are aligned, you actually create a conversation that's much more valuable, okay? So the one most important and most compelling thing that they discovered is that there was one frequency, one state that had that was greater in volume than anything else. One frequency that was 4 times greater in volume than anything else. It was the frequency of authenticity. Authentic, honest discourse. Two people speaking back and forth where they were compelled to speak honestly, truthfully, and they were aligned in their thinking. This created conversations that were off the Richter scale as far as their measurements were concerned. Now, what's important about that? 70% of today's buyers say that if they feel that their salesperson is scripted or robotic or saying the same thing to them, the same cookie cutter message that they've said to everybody else, they will not be compelled to move away. They will not disengage a little bit. They won't just think, they will disengage entirely, like disconnected. Okay? Who in here makes cold calls? Okay? Who's ever got hung up on? Should be all hands if you make cold calls. Okay? That's called disengaging entirely. When somebody feels as though you're being scripted and robotic, they will disengage entirely.